there are probably about, I think, 5-6 good reasons for including beans in the rotation. I think soil health and nitrogen fixation is a key part of that. So, beans, they fix large amounts of nitrogen. They leave, up to probably 70 kilos of nitrogen of residual N. So this is a direct measurable saving, by significantly reducing bagged nitrogen needed for the following wheat crop. You're cutting input costs straight away.
That was Alistair Bell from Frontier. He and his colleague Jessica Saunders are joining us today on Inside the Pod to talk about the Frontier Faba Bean Project, which has created a secure market for human consumption beans through an exclusive contract, helping growers to manage risk, add further value to the supply chain, and build more sustainable rotations. I'm your host for today, Emily Scaife, and you're listening to Inside the Pod from the Processors and Growers Research Organisation. Okay, we are here with Jessica Saunders and Alistair Bell, who are both from Frontier. Morning, both. Would you mind just introducing yourselves and letting us know a little bit about you and your background?
So, Jessica Saunders, commodity trader at Frontier. I've traded the Pulses book now for roughly around 18 months, but I have actually been with the business for 10 years now, and kind of worked my way through the business from admin all the way up to trading. So, although I'm relatively new to this role, I've got a lot of experience with Frontier.
Yeah, good morning, Alistair Bell. Yeah, I've been with Frontier for 25 years. I am an agronomist and also the regional agronomy manager for the North. So covering from the Humber up to the Scottish borders.
Fantastic. So we've come together today to talk about Frontier's Faba project. Would you mind telling us all about it and the thinking behind it?
The Frontier Faba project is a project that Frontier is very behind, in the sense that we've heard a lot in the market about no demand for beans domestically, demand keeps going down, all very negative market chat around beans. But actually, if we take a step back from beans as just beans, there is a huge protein market in the UK. It's well established, and unfortunately for us as a bean market today, that's very much dominated by soya, and the UK import around 2.5 million tons of imported soya. So rather than carry on this negative story about demand for beans in the UK, what we want to do is twist that round and turn it on its head. And actually, we think it's potentially a supply and production problem rather than a demand problem, because it's clear that the protein demand is there, but actually demand for beans has gone down as production has gone down, and farmers, deem beans as a risky crop, and therefore, production has slowly dwindled. To put that into perspective, UK production has fallen from around 650 tons in crop 23-24 to this year somewhere around 400,000 tons of beans. So for us, the project is about helping farmers manage risk around beans, kind of change the perception of beans on farm, and increase that production so that we can really tap into that well-established protein market and hopefully reduce that reliance on soya for the UK.
Brilliant. So, if you ask a farmer why they don't grow beans already, the answers they most commonly give are usually around varying yields and volatility in the markets and in the weather. How does this new contract address those particular fears?
I think certainly over the last few years, it's not a volatility in a market price. It is in that demand piece rather than the price. And I think this the Faba project basically is, we know that we've got quite a established market in the human consumption market and export to Egypt. So for us, it's about giving those routes to market to the farmer. And instead of just growing beans and hoping that there is a market, we've gone out there and said, look, we know this market is there, and we'll help you with the risk management through these kind of schemes to sort of mitigate some of that demand volatility. So that's kind of the market piece, and then I'll pass over to Alistair on the other bits.
Yeah, thanks, Jesse. I think we recognise that the varying yields have kept beans out of rotations, and I think this new contract is designed specifically to reduce that risk as it includes agronomic support. And I think there are many ways where we can help to increase those yields. Um, and I think that starts from the start in terms of getting your variety right. So we generally prioritize those varieties from the PGRO recommended list that demonstrate consistent performance over many years of service. So varieties like Lynx and Vesper are two varieties that do show that. And we recognise that many farmers do save their seed, so we do also offer a complimentary stem nematode testing of farm safe seed. The purpose of that really is ensure that the seed is free of the pest before planting, and that should hopefully prevent future infestations. We've also seen that sometimes you can see yields of up to 70% loss from seed nematode, so it's really important to ensure that the seed is free from that. And there's been quite a lot of work recently, particularly through PGRO on cultivations. Unlike a lot of other combinable crops, beans don't necessarily require a fine seed bed. Slightly cloddy conditions are tolerated. However, to get the best efficacy out of any residual herbicides, a well consolidated seed bed will be advantageous. And beans are large. They're large seeds and require adequate moisture to germinate. So good seed soil contact is essential. PGRO have also shown the soil compaction can reduce yields by up to 40%. So we get these basic things right, we're already going towards increasing that yield. And I guess seed rate is really important as well. And again, lots of trials work over years on that. And we're now seeing for winter beans that the target plant population is anything between 18 to 28 plants per meter squared, depending on the variety, and that's key to that. And for spring, the recommended seed rate is between 50 and 55 plants per meter squared, or 40 plants in very fertile land. Drilling depth is also important. We're seeing a significant correlation on establishment and over yield and the overall yield from getting that drilling depth right. We look at the depth of probably 7.5 to 12.5 centimetre provides the best establishment. BASF did some work recently, showed that a yield uplift of 0.4 tonnes per hectare above the average for growers who drill to a depth of 10 to 13 centimetres. That's really, really important. And I think the last point is really making sure that you are patient. Yeah. Beans need to establish quickly, so make sure they go into the right conditions. Don't force them into cold, wet conditions. Just wait off and wait for that right time.
Can you talk us through why you've decided to create this contract now and why the time is right for farmers to consider growing beans?
So for us at Frontier, we're obviously looking at advancing agriculture and how to make farming more sustainable and more resilient. As we know, it's a tough time for farmers right now. I think for a long time we've perhaps looked at beans in isolation, and we'll go on to why beans are so valuable in the rotation. But beans, when you look at it in a 5-year rotation, they are so valuable to this idea of sustainability on farm. They've got great benefits, and it is just about looking at that overall rotation and how we make it resilient. And beans are a great break crop, but I think that break crop comes with the caveat that you need the right risk management tools in place to get the best out of the beans. So, but also in the wider market and the wider industry, there is a lot of chatter right now around beans and how how sustainable they are. And also we've got like the Food Foundation, they've launched a project around getting more pulses into UK diets. I see no reason why faba beans can't be included in that kind of discussion. And we also saw in the farm profitability report beans being named directly as being included in the sustainable farming incentive. So I think everything right now leads to beans as almost being a no-brainer crop, and hopefully we we get that boost from all these really positive discussions, and it feels like the right time to be really thinking seriously about beans.
Yeah, there are probably about, I think, 5, 6 good reasons for including beans in the rotation. I think soil health and nitrogen fixation is a key part of that. So, beans, they fix large amounts of nitrogen. They leave, up to probably 70 kilos of nitrogen of residual N. So this is a direct measurable saving, by significantly reducing bagged nitrogen needed for the following wheat crop. You're cutting input costs straight away. So real key part of growing beans in the rotation. And, beans develop excellent, deep and strong taproot systems. And this will dramatically increase your soil structure, which will aid drainage, increase water infiltration, just making the whole rotation more resilient. Jess just mentioned about the carbon side of it and the sustainability part of it. Beans contribute to sustainable farming practices, no question. They reduce that need for synthetic fertilizers that I just spoke about, but they also help to lower the farm's carbon footprint, which we all know is becoming a real important part of the UK in terms of meeting climate targets. I think also, and probably something to really consider when you're growing beans, is this diversification of crops. Beans, offer farmers an opportunity to diversify their crop rotation. So this can help to reduce pests, diseases that build up, as well as managing grass weed control as well. One area that we've really seen an improvement is the improved yield for subsequent crops. Yeah. So not just looking purely at the beans, but what does it have effect into the next crops? And the value of beans is seen immediately following the crop going into the next wheat crop. Based on PGRO data and also industry data, you can see up to a typical yield boost of up to a tonne per hectare. So again, this translates directly into additional savings, from just the rotation alone. Beans, support biodiversity. They do. They increase habitats and food for pollinators and other beneficial insects. And also, this idea about creating a more sustainable and resilient rotation. When you include beans in your rotation, it allows for an extended gap between oilseed rape crops. So this reduction in frequency lowers disease pressure, significantly helps to manage volunteers. So you're resulting in a more robust and profitable oilseed rape crop. So it has that benefit. And then also when you put beans into your rotation, it allows you to reduce that second wheat area, which, second wheats are higher risk, generally lower margin part of the rotation. So when you compare a rotation containing beans to one without, the overall gross margins are comparable. However, the bean inclusion rotation provides superior sustainability, and also what key to, I think, this as well is just helps you with that weed control, which is becoming a big problem on farm.
Brilliant. Can you talk me through the options for purchasing bean seeds within this contract?
Yeah, so we are offering the option to buy the Lynx variety through Frontier. I think Alistair's touched on the fact that there is the PGRO data to show that Lynx is a very good, well-established variety of beans. But obviously we understand and we've discussed already that beans have been a bit of a Cinderella type crop, and a lot of farmers do obviously farm save quite a bit of seed. So that is why we also have that option of the stem nematode test on farm safe seed, because we understand that not every farmer is going to want to buy new seed. So those are the two options that we're offering on this contract.
Brilliant. And is there any other support that growers can expect through the project?
So, included in the contract is full agronomic support from a Frontier agronomist. We're targeting the high value human consumption export market, and the standards are rigorous. So, the market demands really high quality beans. And I think meeting those requirements is challenging. It really is. But this is where I think our team of agronomists can help. They're all equipped with the tools and products needed to help growers, face these challenges. And some of those areas where we can potentially help is with our nutritional and biostimulant products. They've shown in trials to benefit the crop rooting system and overall yield. A particular product that we run with is Status. Status, it's a pure plant biostimulant with two active ingredients, MTU and pedolic acid. And the job of that particular product is to increase the crop nutrient use efficiency and also help to combat abiotic stress. Also, which is really important, is we have this technical approach to our fungicide and herbicide strategy. So we believe in expertise backed by evidence, and each year we invest just under £4 million in research and development through a program of nationwide trials and wider innovation. So that's real key to understanding some of these crops. I think also when you're talking specifically about beans, we've got the use of the Coppert brood trap, which can be used in spring beans, which is a real help. And then we do have the use of same crop weather stations as well to help as a decision support system. Do you think when we're talking about pests and diseases, the development of those pests and diseases is always linked to weather conditions? So it's possible to detect the arrival of pests and diseases with these weather stations. I guess, in short, it's all about attention to detail. Yeah, that attention to detail will give the best opportunity for success.
And just to finish, what do you think the future looks like for bean production in the UK? Are you both more glass half full or glass half empty?
I mean, for me, I think the world's our oyster in terms of bean production. I think if we can make beans a profitable crop and a serious crop at that, I think that there's great demand for beans. I think today, just to put into perspective, roughly only around 11% of today's bean crop gets exported as human consumption beans. But I think if we really work on the agronomics of beans, we really can increase that. And that market is there. The Egyptian market specifically is there to take the UK good quality beans. So just in human consumption beans, that we can really increase that demand. But I think we really need to remember that there is a huge potential in the UK domestic protein market that we can really tap into if we can basically prove that we can have a consistent supply. I went last year to the NCS Soya to Sustainability conference, and there was a nutritionist there from one of our domestic feed mills, and it really resonated with me that that he stood up and said, if we could supply a consistent demand of feed beans in the UK, we would take these feed beans into these homes. It's the fact that we can't keep this consistent production is why they won't switch to beans. So I think that as soon as we really work on bean production, we will see a massive uptake in demand.
Yeah, I totally support Jess in that, and all the trial work that's been going on over recent years through PGRO, through people like ourselves, that will drive success. That will drive people to be able to produce good quality, high yielding crops year on year on year. So I think with that support and the demand side of things, I think we've got a real opportunity of growing the bean market in the UK.
Fantastic. Well, that seems a good note to finish on. Thank you both so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Inside the Pod. If you enjoyed it, please like and share, and make sure you subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any future episodes. We'll see you again soon on Inside the Pod. Thanks for listening.